I was just gonna ask you something.
Sure.
You're a bikini barista, right?
Yes.
And a hardcore conservative, kind of, or some like you're on.
I'm not hardcore conservative.
You're leaning right.
Yeah.
So, and you don't like work.
No.
So why do you think? And you're a Christian. So how are you a Christian and against sex work, but yet you're in a bikini all day serving food and getting tips?
What are you saying?
I feel like it's a fair question.
Yeah, the short answer is you're not. You're not really a follower. You know this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this at all. You should not be a bikini model. But let's hear what this woman has to say.
You don't think that Christians can go to the beach in a bikini? You don't think that Christians
Yeah, but that's still like that's like a lot of sex workers do like bikini barista.
Yeah, because
you're not practicing.
You're not selling their pussy on the side.
Just let them.
You're not like you're not practicing modesty or anything that's in the Bible.
What's your definition of modesty?
What's your definition of modesty, Seth? Does this woman look modest to you?
I'll be honest. I would say no.
I think the makeup just screams plain and down to earth to me. She looks. I couldn't really tell this woman apart from an Amish person. You know, I've seen Amish women that look and dress like this with pounds of makeup on their faces.
She's not Amish.
She's not. Yeah, she's not Amish, I guess.
Not being in a bikini.
Not being in a bikini.
So you want to let your wife at the beach in a bikini?
I'm not saying that I wouldn't let my wife go to the beach in a bikini.
You make extra tips.
Let's pull up her Instagram. I wouldn't want her working
just
in a bikini.
Not,
you don't want
what's wrong with Instagram? You make extra tips for being in the bikini, and
I'm just a show.
Shaming sex workers, like you're basically a stripper, so I don't understand why.
Stripper, yeah, because I touch people and I dance on people for money.
Do you have a problem? Did you have a man that like cheated on you with a stripper?
I also feel like saying she's basically a stripper is kind of fair.
Why do you feel that's fair?
The one strip club that I've been to was basically women in bikinis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this other chick's got a point.
Yeah.
She has a decent point.
It's adjacent to this. Chase is coming in and being like, well, technically that's different, but it's like really it's kind of the...
If we got to break out technicals like that, I mean, it's like, it's doing the job basically, but without the title.
Mm-hmm. Okay, she's not there in the club, but the spirit of it is the same.
Yeah.
And it's obviously you're like flaunting your body, you're flaunting your assets so people buy the bikinis.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Exactly.
And so it is kind of still, I don't know that I'd call it sex work, quote unquote, because I hate that term. But it's
in the same vein.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a really good father that raised me to have morals.
Me too.
I had a really good father. Oh, man.
You taught me not to be a stripper, just a bikini.
Yeah. Hey. I'm drawing the line here.
And he's watching, and he's very proud of me for my accomplishments. I pay his rent. Degree, so thank you very much, babe.
In your notes to us, you said most people don't date, or did you have something really quick?
It's not quick. You already know.
Can you just give us... Okay, so for you, you said in your pre-show notes to us, most people don't date for marriage anymore. It's extremely hard to find a traditional wife-husband who wants to raise their children under biblical values.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my question for you is, how do you reconcile that statement with the fact that you are a bikini barista and don't appear all that traditional in your social media presence? And that's why I wanted to, if we can, pull up the Instagram, just...
Well, it depends on what you mean by traditional. Nick. Traditional to me means submitting to your husband. Traditional to me means being a good Christian. It means being...
How can you find one?
But what about modesty?
Is a bikini barista trad, Seth? Does that scream traditional to you?
Bikini barista?
Yeah.
I would say no.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Couldn't see Martin Luther in a barn with a bunch of bikini baristas.
I mean, if I think really hard,
we can imagine it. I don't think that seems like something he would do. That's not a place he would go.
I would say no.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Yeah, definitely not.
What do you mean? I am modest.
In the currently, but like while you're at
my actions, I am a very, very modest person.
Sex work is not modest.
I'm not in sex work.
She's not a sex worker, but look,
I would never touch someone for money. I would never do anything gross like that for money. I'm good.
I'll point out by that definition that she gives, it's kind of unclear whether or not an OnlyFans girl is actually in quote unquote sex work either, because they're also not touching anyone for money. They are kind of doing things for money, but they're still not actually touching anyone for it. So really, I think this is how she distances like what she's doing and how she's living from what she's purporting her values to be, because she knows this like isn't traditional, and anyone in their right mind like wouldn't consider this a traditional vocation. It's immodest, you know.
Yeah,
You'd have to be out of your mind to say it's not. But she's got to like justify it to herself, so this is what she goes with.
What was your name again?
Savannah.
Savannah. To Brian's point, look, you're a beautiful woman. You're intelligent. I think you're well spoken.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To Brian's point, I haven't seen your social media. It sounds like is there an abundance of bikini pics?
Yes.
Here, we'll pull it up just for.
Okay.
I'm proud of my body. Like,
Scroll
there's
down
nothing.
there.
The thing is that everybody associates nudity to sexuality, and to
Look at those bunnies. She's got to know this is wank material for some guys. Like, she has to know that this is what people are getting out of her Instagram page. She's like, oh, well, I'm not actually showing my naked body online. Like, you're doing everything but that.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is sort of I don't know.
While claiming to be modest.
Yeah, while
Those
claiming
are
to be
some
modest.
Mental gymnastics.
What did Jesus say about the letter of the law? and trying to use that to get around the spirit of the law?
me,
Lord have
it's
mercy.
not the same.
We must stay focused, brothers.
And if you're lusting over me, that is your sin.
She's really taking no accountability here.
Hey.
Yeah, that was remarkable. That's like, oh, if you do that, I'm gonna like leave my almost naked body all over the internet, and I'm proud of my body. And she knows what assets she has too. Like, you're just gonna do that, and you're like, oh, it's actually your problem. If you there's another verse too, I forget which one it is, about not leading other people into sin, and she has just neglected to follow that.
Completely disagree with. Hold on one second. Okay, so Brian, what was her statement about finding it difficult to find?
Most people don't date for marriage anymore. It's extremely hard to find a traditional wife husband who wants to raise their children under biblical values.
Okay, so
how do you reconcile that
I'm
statement?
saying this with all due respect. I genuinely respect you.
Thank you.
You shouldn't. That eyeliner should not command respect.
As a traditional Christian man who wants a traditional Christian wife, to be quite frank, if I saw your Instagram page, immediately I would write you off as a non-traditional, non-Christian woman. I would assume that you weren't Christian. When I see a woman's Instagram page and I see bikini pictures all over the place, showing off the booty, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, yo, this is the exact opposite of modesty. And I'm not interested in that. And I would argue that you are probably making it much more difficult on yourself to find the kind of man that your heart longs for by living this kind of lifestyle where you're posting these images of yourself. Because I know a lot of traditional Christian dudes, a lot of them, across the board, they want modesty in women, and they would not classify that Instagram page as modest.
Sure, that's fine. I'm not really looking for a husband, though. I was just stating that it is hard.
So she says she's not looking for one while ranting that she can't find one.
Yeah.
Like,
how does that make any sense?
Yeah.
How does that make any sense? And also, I'll just say it right now, like, your duty as a woman is just to be married and have kids. Like, that's your peak performance for a woman looks like being a wife, unironically, like full stop. You're not supposed to be a girl boss. You're not supposed to be getting that bag, sis. Like, you're supposed to be married and having children and raising a future generation of upstanding Americans. You're not supposed to be dressing with the bleached hair and the clown makeup and posting your body all over the internet. Like, that's not something you're supposed to be doing. And just because you're like not as bad as some of these other women who are actually OnlyFans models, like, that's kind of the least you can do. That's setting the bar very low. You know you're able to not do that and have like a real regular job, but you're not doing that. Like, this is still so obviously wrong.
If I were to go to her Instagram, I would be surprised if there was not an OnlyFans link.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Who are we trying to kid here?
Yeah. I bet if we go back there will be one. Honestly. I don't even trust her. I don't even take her for her word.
I wouldn't.
To be fair.
Part of the reason why it's
not
hard is because I think you're making it harder on yourself with the job that you work and also with your Instagram presence.
Okay, sure, that's valid.
And isn't it using sexualization to get money?
No, I'm not doing anything sexual at all.
You literally are in a bikini with your ass out getting tips. I know how it works.
She wants to
Okay.
smoke.
Well, I just
Yeah, like, okay, are you
I
not?
do get tips just like
Can you
strippers
not
get
be
tips.
a bikini, be in a bikini and be
No,
a
I'm not-
Christian?
Yeah,
Like,
wait,
what the
yeah,
fuck?
no,
Azure,
but-
it's Azure, right?
but this
I
is
give
the
you,
question.
It is-
I
look,
give
it
you
is not
credit.
modesty.
You
It's
want
not
the
modesty.
Well, it
smoke from
depends on your
everybody,
definition.
actually.
Well,
Modesty.
okay, so my definition.
In Europe, it's considered
my
modest.
definition.
In Europe, it's considered modest.
That's in Europe. You know, the place where they have no rules socially. Like every like European woman I've ever, like a ton of them, disproportionately, they have these like insane views of sexuality. Like especially if they're from the Scandinavian countries or like German-speaking Europe.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They have like they're just like, oh, you can like sleep with 1 million people and it's no big deal. Like they have a view of sexuality which is just like insane. And she's hiding behind this because she doesn't want to face up to the fact of what she's doing, which is basically borderline being a stripper. And this is someone who claims to have like biblical values, but if you're a woman, you're like not supposed to speak in church, and you're also supposed to have your head covered too. Like it's very conservative even in the New Testament.
So
right? Like you go out onto a beach, you're naked.
Savannah.
Sounds like it's
Savannah.
just
Hold on.
That's not
Savannah,
when you're getting tipped.
hold on. Savannah, you're
I'm
saying
getting tipped to make coffee.
ladies, please,
with your ass out.
Please
so don't
stop.
shame workers. That's all.
She
I'm
wants
saying.
Not
smoke.
sex work. Holy shit.
It's very.
It's not. I'm not touching anyone for money. You're lusting after me. I'm not doing shit. I'm making coffee.
You, Savannah, are eliciting lust from men by dressing
It's
this
their
way.
fault for
Well, that's the
No.
same thing.
No,
would
that's
be-
like putting your breasts in a man's
Yeah, but that's
face
the
and being
same
like, why are
argument
you
as a
looking at
stripper.
them?
No,
Why are-"
it's not.
Yes,
I
it
would
is.
never do
You're
that.
You're flaunt. You literally do it
They
for a living.
come
You flaunt
through
your
my
body.
coffee stand.
Hang on,
Like,
let me
that's
ask this. Let me ask this. What's the distinction when you say they're lusting after me? Couldn't the stripper make the same argument?
Yeah, except for a stripper's touching and doing sexual
Okay, so-
acts.
so-
hang on.
It seems like
There's
you're
a
just like
big
trying to
difference.
find a way.
A stripper doesn't even necessarily touch a client. Like you can tell that like touch is how she's just, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
touching anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how she's like distanced herself from what the reality of what she's actually doing.
She could do the same job at a strip club. Literally the exact same thing.
I think there are girls who just like at strip. I wouldn't know, but there are girls at strip clubs who just do drinks.
Exactly.
Who like will come up to you like, I don't know, like roller skate or whatever
There's
the gimmick
just
is.
chicks like behind the bar that are just working the bar.
Yeah,
That are-
and they'll be dressed like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
this is letter of the law stuff.
The stripper
No,
never
There's a
touched
fine
him.
line between
Let's say the
using
stripper
your-
never touched him, ever, never touched any of the Johns. Just showed up and shook her ass. That's all she did.
Sure, I don't do that.
Yeah, but let's say that's all she did, okay? She's not touching anybody now.
Sure.
She's using her sexualization to make money, wouldn't just like you are, right?
No.
What's the distinction then?
The difference is that you're dancing and you're shaking your ass and you're doing that to elicit a feeling to get money, right?
And what is the
right?
bikini for?
So the bikini,
Exactly.
no.
It seems like you're trying to like
Wait, hold
on,
justify
just
the
38.
reason
One
why.
sec. One sec.
I am a Christian, but I think women should be head of household. I am all for women with stake in the game, but the sword penetrates the chalice, not the other way around. We see reality.
Real.
Yo, thank you, Bellman. Appreciate it.
What does that mean?
Look, this whole idea that like it's on men to control their lust. Yes, okay, I agree. Men have the responsibility to control their lust, but women also have a responsibility to not elicit that lust from men.
By what
And
I'm wearing.
By you
to
choosing.
be specific.
Yes.
By
Savannah,
what I am wearing.
Savannah, come on. If there's two women and one is
So am I
wearing-
eliciting that when I
Please
go
let
to the
me
beach
speak.
with my
Please
bikini?
let me
Okay,
speak.
I apologize.
I'll just point out though that the whole like Muslim women like wearing veils and stuff actually comes from Byzantine Christianity. Like this was a thing before Islam where women would wear veils in the Near East for modesty. So it's not an injunction in the Bible. Like it's not a commandment that women have to wear this. And I don't necessarily think it should be, but that's originally where it came from because people interpreted, like early Christians interpreted this as a way of a woman maintaining her modesty. So not like the full thing, just like maybe a head covering or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how a woman would stay modest.
If there's two, thank you. If there's two women and one of them is wearing a modest dress and the other woman is wearing a bikini that shows off her breasts and her butt, obviously men are going to lust. They're more likely to lust after the woman that's in a bikini with all of her curves showing. She is making a choice to wear something that shows off her body. She is going to elicit lust. Do you concede that?
I agree, but that is also not my responsibility
Okay,
to be responsible
let me
for
ask
your
it a
lustful
different
That's
way.
that's fine. It's you can say it's not your responsibility, but just don't call yourself traditional or modest.
Well, let me ask.
Maybe she's a traditional modest stripper. Maybe this is a new wave.
the new invention, 2024, the trad strippers. Trads. This is what the nuns would do in the monasteries. They would just under their they wear their nun hats, but then strip down and dance for the priests, who would not touch themselves. No, it's not fine. You shouldn't even not be a traditional modest woman. This is why women have problems in dating too. It's because they go through a ton of guys. These relationships traumatize them because ultimately women want not sex, but actually stability and commitment. They don't get that. They become all jaded. Bad things happen. And this woman already has this kind of attitude, even though she's supposedly trad and Christian and whatever. Like, women are basically like de facto atheists. Like, they're like 90+% of them are not actually going to read the Bible and then follow that of their own inspiration because the Holy Spirit has stirred their spirit, like they're not gonna, they're just gonna have whatever values that are on media and TV and blah, blah, blah. And you can get angry at me for saying that if you're a woman watching this video, but then it's like, look at women like this. Look at women who purport themselves to be Christian. They don't even follow this. They don't even do this. Like, it's like 90+% of women are not actually traditional and modest. So
It's just a different
You're
way.
not.
That's fair.
Inside
By definition.
Inside of your capacity as a bikini barista, can you name a single virtue of being a bikini barista? What is a single virtue? What about it is in any way virtuous?
I'm not going to answer that. Like, I don't know what you're trying to get out of that question.
Oh.
She's not going to answer it because she can't fucking answer it.
Yeah.
Like, what is she going to say?
there's nothing to say.
I make coffee for people. Yeah.
While half naked.
Yeah.
What's the virtue in that? He's like, what's the value of your work as a woman? You should be a wife and mother. That's kind of the highest real achievement that you can have. You're not supposed to be doing whatever you're doing right now, and she knows that.
Okay, so if a guy,
it's not a
if
job that I enjoy doing.
Yeah,
it's not
if a
like it's
guy's
my
in-
dream job. I have two
Do you
college
aspire?
degrees.
Do you
I'm
aspire to
working
be
on
the?
it.
Do you aspire to be the Proverbs 31 wife?
I don't know.
Well, you agree that
I may not get
Christianity,
married.
just
I
to
don't
follow
know.
up on this, you agree that Christians need to be virtuous, right?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
What are the virtues of being a bikini barista?
I never said that there was virtues
Yeah,
of being a bikini
but when
barista.
when you're asked specifically to say, hey, listen, it's not my problem that these guys over here they all want to put their hands all over me. They can't, but they want to, and that's why I make extra money.
I mean, that
but
happens when
stripper
I
over
have
there,
clothes on,
they're doing
too.
something wrong. That's insane.
No, that's fine. But even
That's
when
a
I have clothes
hypocrisy,
on,
and
men
there's
are
no
the same
virtue.
thing.
There's
That's
no virtue.
Fine.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree on that. But men want to do the same
There's
thing
no
when
di-
I have clothes on too. I could be wearing a potato sack, and men would still want to do that.
Because men are men, and she knows she's making it worse, so she's just deflecting. She's like, oh, well, they're going to do it anyways. Might as well make money. That's like literally OnlyFans girl logic.
100%.
Like, this is, it's going to be like worse because you're doing this. You're not absolved of your actions. And this is the other thing too. Women are like allergic to accountability. Like, they're rarely ever actually going to take accountability for their actions and how they impact other people. You're just going to be met with a ton of excuses like this. It's sad, but it's true. And this is also why in 1 Peter you see women are the weaker partner, right? You want to actually be a Christian? You want to actually believe what's in the Bible? Weaker partner.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, because men have sex drives. But if you're wearing a bikini, it is
But that is your
going to
responsibility.
stimulate a man's sex drive.
Then that's
Anything
just
could
like
stimulate
Savannah,
a man's sex
Savannah,
drive.
Savannah.
Should I wear a hijab
Savannah.
then?
No, you don't have to wear
Like-
a hijab.
I prefer a burqa,
You
to
don't-
be honest.
You don't
Burqa,
have to,
okay.
but Savannah, just like it's a man's job, it's a man's
Get the rocks.
responsibility to control his lust. It's
Get the
also
rocks. Get the
a
rocks.
woman's responsibility. If she calls herself a traditional modest
Modest Hikima
Christian, to not
donated
inspire lust.
$200. Abortion is a necessary evil, should be strictly regulated. God-given rights made up. Andrew W. Brixham, PLS. Stop showing these girls half-naked pics. I don't have Insta for reason. Only 304s.
Okay,
Chase
all right.
W.
Thank you.
Question: if you start dating a guy, your boyfriend or your husband, if he requested you take down those photos, would you oblige him?
Absolutely.
That's really kind of the least you can do. Just take down the photos. It's like, oh, absolutely. That's the tradness, I guess.
Yeah.
Is her word, however reliable that might be, which is probably not, of her taking down the photos once she's shacked up with the guy.
Okay, all right.
Do you think it might improve if you were interested in dating, do you think it might improve your dating prospects in the traditional Christian male pool to remove those photos?
Yeah, it probably would. But the thing is that I'm not dating right now. I'm not interested in dating right now.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I'm just living
What
my
I'm
life
curious
and having
about
fun.
still, if you just don't mind one last follow-up.
And then I'm going to bring Selena finally in.
My big curiosity here still is I'm caught up on this idea that you have no responsibility. I
It's
have
crazy.
no responsibility. It's their responsibility
I
for
mean,
the
Muslims
because
would say
hang on,
like
hang on.
Let him finish
Let
his
me
point.
finish.
No interrupting.
National
wait.
donated $200. Azir's only W all night. She's right, you are basically a stripper just like in states that don't allow female strippers to strip nude.
Yeah.
No difference, you just want to feel different from the of girls.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, well, in this case, this super chatter hits the nail on the head. And what the super chatter is saying is the same thing I'm going to tell you or ask you, which is why couldn't anybody engage in sex work?
Grid One Motorsports donated $200.
Yo, thank you, Grid One. Appreciate it, man.
Brian, I leave you alone for a few minutes and wow. To Savannah,
wild.
would you make the same tips if you were in a modest dress?
Right. Well, this gets to the heart of it real quick. So, all of the women who are involved in any kind of sex work, you realize can use this same exact argument you just did, which is to say
No.
the responsibility is 100% on the John. If he wasn't coming to have sex with us, then I wouldn't even be a prostitute, would I?
No,
if the
'cause you're
John wasn't coming in to watch me strip,
You're
I wouldn't even be able to
consenting
strip,
that
would I?
action. You're doing a
shifting- hang
sexual
on, let me-
action.
Women will remove agency and volition from themselves when it's convenient. So you're consenting to that action. Well, yeah, like it's the man consenting that she highlights as the issue. Like it's totally, it's like, and this is sort of like the logic you see with feminists is they like never think that like a man's choice like matters more when it's convenient. So when you hear equality, that's always a dog whistle for supremacy.
So are
let me finish
you.
the
No,
point.
I'm not.
Yes,
what am I
you
doing
are.
that's
You're
sexual?
making coffee in a bikini.
That's not
inherently
sexual. And you
Yes,
get
it
tips.
is.
No, it's
You
not.
get-
Why
you
does
get
it- why-
paper
I'm not
dollar
dancing
tips
on
like
someone, I'm
every
not
other
touching
stripper.
somebody, I'm not doing
why
anything.
would a woman walk into her bedroom on her wedding night in lingerie for her husband?
Lingerie
Because that
and bikinis are
lingerie
very
is inherently
different.
sexual. They're very different in the sense that there's lace on it and it's different
No,
materials, but
no.
you're showing off
I'm
the curves
covered.
of your body
No.
to
So, yeah.
stimulate your
So-
man's
so you
sex
want-
drive.
Might as well just go to the beach and
So
lingerie.
you want
then,
them to
right?
believe?
The men who are buying coffee are tipping you in dollars like strippers.
because this will make your point too.
Or not.
They're coming
That's
to
like-
get
You
coffee
honest-
because you're in a bikini.
Yeah, you
they could go to a
honest-
better coffee shop.
Then that's their issue.
Well,
but
could
I'm
you
making
honestly
coffee.
say that
But you
Like,
know
that's my-
exactly why you
Yeah.
work that job to make more money
It's
in
the
tips.
same reason
Yeah,
you're
I gotta
posting
make more money.
bikini photos on your Instagram to solicit
Yeah,
sexual
can you honestly
attention.
say that your employer was like, I want you to wear a bikini because it's really hot in here?
I don't give a shit what my employer
Is that
thinks.
what your employer was like? I want you to wear a
I
bikini
don't
because
give a
it
shit.
gets up to like 90 and I'd really just, I want you to be cool while you're working. Why do you think your employer wants you to wear a bikini while you're
That's
serving
their
coffee?
responsibility. If they come through because
Yeah,
they
but
want
why do
coffee
you think
or
he
they
does?
want to look at my ass,
Yeah, but
that's
why do you
their
think he does?
responsibility.
If you want a husband one day and you're a Christian, work at Starbucks.
Nah, I'm good. They support abortion.
Okay.
Wait.
Well, find another hometown coffee
And you
shop.
support sex work, so.
No, I don't. That's literally not sex work.
Yeah, it's literally sex work.
literally not sex work.
Abortion.
It's literally
It's-
sex
it's
work.
still
yeah.
soliciting your body
It's not
just like a
debatable.
sex
It's not
worker.
sex work.
And you
It's
get,
not sex. I'm not doing anything sexual whatsoever.
and then they hand you
Except the
cash
sex
tips
work.
after that. You,
It's literally not sex work.
Nick,
Yeah, making coffee with your boobs right out for every man to see is, not sexual in 2024. I mean, this kind of reminds me of like in middle school, you have these girls who would wear like really revealing clothing and then they get angry when they got dress coded and they'd be like, oh, well, it's like men's problem for staring. Like you just don't kind of know that that's part of the animal part of men's brains that's just going to do that. If you it's and the way you become desensitized to that too is by like sleeping with a ton of women, which people won't tell you. The other important thing about this is, contrary to mainstream interpretation of things, like you had kings in the Old Testament who obviously had like tons of wives too. And there's no specific punishment in Leviticus 18 for where all sexual immorality is defined in the Old Testament for fornication per se. There are problems if you're a man and you sleep with a virgin, because then you're obligated to pay her father like 150, whatever it would be in today's money, an exorbitant amount of money in today's currency for sleeping with a virgin. But once a woman's not a virgin, she's not wife material. Like that's why they have the phrase bride price. is because it was expected in every covenanted nation that a woman who was fit to be a bride was a virgin. And if not, then she's a concubine. And what a lot of Christians don't understand today is that Christ did not, he came to confirm the law and not overturn it. You know, he came to fulfill the law and not abolish it. So statutes like concubinage and laws regarding marriage and the original Old Testament views on sexuality and adultery are different than what you would get if you just walked into your average church and heard a pastor. Women are shamed for being strippers or bikini baristas or quote-unquote sex workers, and men are not shamed for having them, which seems like a double standard. But what God wrote in his word is that men and women are different, and we see this evidently in day-to-day life. We see average behavior of men and women, that it's different. The Bible only confirms this, while church tradition may say otherwise. That's been it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it if you really liked it, and Red Channels will catch you in the next one.